My name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is falling versus flying. One of the teachings I've received in this life came from the School of Metaphysics, and in one of the lessons, it stated that your attention is your most precious commodity. And if you think about it, of the things you possess, it is your attention that can cause you to read a book and learn a new topic. It is your attention that can choose to go to the gym and do a workout regimen. It's also your attention that can doom scroll or watch TV, or maybe take the break you very much need by practicing those forms of rest engagement. Your attention is consciousness basically moving forward in the paradigm. And so I've found that to be relatively true. The reason I want to talk about falling versus flying is because one of the most important things that we do with this most precious commodity called attention is we choose with our free will choice the perspective we're going to hold with our attention. Something that recently came to my attention. Heather, sometimes due to autism or due to just general irritability and eating a snack and being hangry, can sometimes be fussy when I'm on the road, when I'm driving. And I haven't always been that way. I went through a long period where I really practiced kind of zen on the road. I really practiced, like, if somebody wants to zoom in front of me, go right ahead. I practiced slowing down instead of always speeding up, just allowing myself to kind of gauge how to be peaceable in the streets. And I kind of lost that peace in the past year, just getting fussy out in the streets. And so I had this, I've had a few negative interactions in the past few months. One of them, I didn't see a stop sign. I didn't stop at it. Some woman felt compelled to pull up next to me and tell me that I am a terrible person because I didn't stop at the stop sign. And I was like, well, you sound like a dictator. You're just going around and assessing what things are, and you're the leader that we're all supposed to obey. Like, wait, calm down, lady. But I didn't really respond to her in the way that I wanted to, you know? I would have rather said, you're welcome to judge me, and I just will pray that you forgive me. You know, like, forgiveness is another option. It's another perspective for you today. You can experience that you're falling, or you can experience that you're flying. The question is, how are you going to hold the experience that you're having? And my boyfriend, Manny, the very next week, because my divine guidance and allies have a tendency to bring me the perfect right teachers and the perfect right hours, I'm humbled and grateful. Thank you. He had an interaction that he just randomly tells me that a guy had gotten really irritated with him. And this guy pulls up next to him. He has a little Toyota Tacoma. This guy had a much bigger pickup truck, pulls up. Manny's windows were down. And this guy just starts yelling at Manny. Blah, 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 blah. He's just super mad at him about some driving scenario. And Manny just just listens to this guy. Interesting. And then as soon as the guy was done, he said, I'm really sorry about that. I apologize. I apologize for doing that. And I apologize that you're upset because of that. And the guy didn't know what to do because he was kind of looking for a fight. He wanted to be falling, and he wanted to be in the fight of the fall rather than be in the flight of the evolution call that was present in the matrix of that conversation. And that's okay. I get it. Ego's triggered, hard to quickly transition. But the guy just turned right and sped off because he didn't know what to do with that layer of compassion and understanding in response to his anger. And I would assume, I'm definitely assuming. And I thought, oh man, that's definitely what I wished I had been doing in the past couple of months, when I get fussy, and may I take the lesson, and may I remember to fly instead of fall when I'm given this call of, hey, Heather, are you going to play small? I really feel that life is constantly asking only one question, and I've said it many times. Life is asking the same question over and over and over again. Will you respond with the truth of the love that you are now? Will you respond with the truth of the love that you are when this happens? What about when this happens? Because one of the ways an entity can exemplify its evolution, what is evolved? What is evolved? Every person may have a different answer to that. To Heather Feather, evolution is the capacity to be the loving kindness that you are in truth, circumstance after circumstance after circumstance, without forgetting you in that progression. Because sometimes we may be loving to everyone else in the paradigm and we forget to love the self. So figuring out how you can maintain boundaries and, honor the self and be self-respecting, but also be compassionate and loving to self and others in your responses. And I think as we evolve, the opportunity to express love in difficult situations, that difficulty increases. And so really what I'm asking you today is, how are you choosing to perceive? Because I've had a couple of moments in the couple of months I've been dating Manny where we haven't had the greatest understanding, or we've had miscommunication. And I realized a couple of weeks after we had a miscommunication, something was happening and I wanted to be like, oh, he's like this. He did this 3 weeks ago. And then I stopped myself and I was like, wait a minute. I'm putting him in a box and I'm deciding that an instance or a moment is the definition of his character. And I can show up many different ways. And I don't always offer my best self. As I started with this video, I'm not only doing her best. She certainly is trying, though. Hopefully I'll do. But I don't always offer my best. And I realize, like, with him being my lover, my mate, I do not in any way want to put him in a box and decide that he's small. Because on my end, that would be a very small practice. It would be a very devoted to falling instead of flying in relation to he and I being in union and getting to know each other. And so I decided that what had happened in our miscommunication was an incident. It does have the potential to recreate again. Maybe we need to go deeper in understanding on where there was misunderstanding. But it is not a definition of his character, and it is not the only way he can show up for me. I find often that because we have an innate problem-solving matrix and wiring in our brain, that we often want to solve the problem. But that can mean sometimes in relationship, we can hyper-focus on the problems and be like, you're like this, and that's the problem. And really, everyone, every single morning is a blank canvas. The challenge is that they've identified so strongly with certain labels, characteristics, ways of being, that they paint the same painting on their blank canvas every day and have very little divergence in the painting that they display because they're not recognizing their free will choice to evolve the perspective that they're going to hold about the situation. And that was the biggest thing that I was realizing in relation to another being. When Heather Feather is in relationship, my duty has never been, and I've known this forever, and I've said this forever, like, I'm not here to evolve you. I'm either going to love you as you are right now, foibles, growth edge, graces, gifts, all of it, or I'm going to not be with you if it doesn't work for me. I'm not going to change you because that's not my duty. That's your evolution work. That's your free will choice. I'm not here to like, oh, one day he'll be what I want him to be. Like, no, if this is not what I'm seeking, then it's just not what I seek. I seek that which is seeking me that is aligned. But I started to realize more and more in the maturation of how I hold Heather Feather in relation to another, that I'm at all times responsible for the perspective that I choose to hold about the circumstance. So he is a very kind man, and he knows that I get hangry and need a snack. And like the other day, he brought me a burrito because he's thoughtful and he's kind and he's a gentleman and he's a lovely person. And Heather Feather just joined a gym. We have a gym here called Choose Fitness, and they have like a pool, and I'm like, oh, it's great. It's summer. I'm going to like make the commitment so that I can, because I don't like to waste money. So I'll go then, and I have been. I've been going to the gym 5 days a week or so. And because of that, and because I've been focused on my caloric intake and the exercise, I told him before he came over, like, I don't want the burrito. But he brought it anyhow because maybe she'll get hungry. He bought it for me. And when he got here, I told him, I was like, I told you not to bring it and you brought it anyhow. Because I felt like he wasn't listening to my boundary or respecting my boundary. Because does Heather want a burrito? Baby, I want a burrito. I want a burrito. I love a burrito. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that I necessarily need to have every burrito I want, because there's also another thing I want called physical health, wellness, and balance, and maintaining optimal levels physically for me as I age and decay in this body. And so I said that, and he went to go get something out of his truck, and I realized how rude that was. Sometimes I was not the most polite character. But as he was at his truck, I was like, Heather, this nice man brought you the snack. And I probably would have done the same thing. Honestly, I would have been like, well, I brought it just in case you want it. If not, like, whatever, I'll eat it tomorrow. But nice to have the option. And so I went out to him at his truck. I didn't even wait for him to get back in the house, and just said, I'm sorry. It was really sweet of you to bring me a burrito. I know that, like, you thought of me and you cared about my need to eat and be fed, and it was kind. It was a kindness. And I didn't mean to take a circumstance in which I have the capacity to view this as us flying and us being free and us being aligned and you being kind and me holding the optimal perspective of the circumstance, and instead get into this falling of like, he doesn't respect me. It's like, well, do you respect yourself? What are we talking about? The inner is the outer is the inner. The conversation you're having right now is about respecting yourself. And what I was really saying is, it's hard for me to respect myself. I need you to help me respect me. And instead, I could have just said, thank you kindly for the burrito, and then made my decision from there. I could have given it to a homeless person. There's lots of alternative options to continue to beautify that beautiful kindness. And so, are there any challenges you're having with another? There's a little bit of focus, because that's where my focus and attention is as of late, around relationships. Are there any relationships where you feel they're the problem? It's not me, it's you, And can we take a minute today to consider, maybe I'm the problem? I've had challenges recently with my sister, who's going through a very difficult time. She's just lost her life mate of 13 years. And we've had some miscommunication around that piece. And that hurts my heart, because my sister and I are very close. And it really hurts me to not have harmony between she and I. And so today, when I drove to Mountain, I realized that, again, I'm falling into this perspective of like, she's not understanding me, or she's not being forgiving, or she's not allowing communication to rectify the situation. Like, I was choosing all of these, there's nothing I can do, and I really just turned it over to the allies and my ancestors, and I asked for guidance and I asked for clarity, and I got this strong sense to call her today. And I called her today, and she picked up, and we were able to clean it up because I took responsibility to have the circumstance have greater movement, greater upward movement. So as we're sifting through the airs of life, you may find in a circumstance when it feels like you're in a free fall and you're just headed towards the ground, that you've had wings all along, and there's no threat in a perspective that is maybe a little bit shadier, a little bit darker, or a little bit less loving, a little bit less connected, because you have free will choice in any moment of now to choose again. And you can choose again and say, am I gonna free fall? Like I'm gonna hit the ground and die, y'all? Is that how I'm gonna walk through my relationships and my friendships and my family? Is that what I want to bring to the table? Or am I going to constantly strive to fly because I know that I was built with the capacity to go high? How can I lift my perspective? How can I shift my perspective? Is it possible that there's another facet on the crystalline opportunities of ways to view this circumstance, challenge, trial, tribulation? So that's what I'm reviewing today, and I just wanted to bring it to the table for you to consider as well. You can always subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine on YouTube, like and comment there, and the website is rarebirdmedicine.com if you want to learn more about the services that I offer. Have a blessed day.